Okay, it's exactly 11:05 and we are going to start now. I'd want to welcome you to the V.I.B.E Learning Lounge. So, okay, it's exactly So V.I.B.E, Virtual Institute of Business and Employment, is the latest initiative from TechQuest, a leading provider of digital skills training programs across Africa. V.I.B.E is aimed specifically at empowering aspiring and established entrepreneurs. So V.I.B.E Sorry about that. V.I.B.E is aimed specifically at empowering aspiring and established entrepreneurs in the creative industries. The V.I.B.E Learning Lounge is a monthly online learning and networking event featuring expert speakers sharing their proven strategies to market and sell creative products and services online. I'm Nello, and I'll be your moderator for this space. I am a sociology and anthropology graduate of the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. I'm a very huge HR enthusiast who has done his things in business development. I've also worked with ISEC for over 6 years, and I recently ended my role as country director for ISEC in Liberia. I'm a lover of process, people, and project management. I've worked with a number of non-governmental organizations as well as corporate companies. I'm currently working with TechQuest Academy, who is bringing this space to you. And I am the responsible for corporate growth and partnerships. So on the call, we have our first speaker for today, Benedict. He is the founder of Creative Pixel Academy. He's a professional with over 10 years experience across a broad range of industries, which includes sales and marketing, creative industries, and venture capital. He is a chapter leader of the International Games Developers Association in Nigeria, an organization that seeks to build and empower new entrants into the global gaming ecosystem. He also wears the hat of a founder and executive director of Creative Pixel Academy, a non-profit educational institution dedicated to developing the talent of the creative ecosystem for gaming, animation, VFX, motion media, and motion capture. Thank you so much, Benedict, for being on this call. I would walk us through our agenda for today. So this is the program agenda that we're going to be using for this space. We're going to be having introduction, which is happening already. We're going to have our welcome remarks from the Managing Director of TechWestern Academy, Dr. Itoro. That is going to last for 5 minutes, and then we're going to have our engagement space with Benedict for 45 minutes. Hopefully our other speaker is going to join us, Drew, and then we'll have a space with her, and then we're going to have questions and answer session. So I'm hoping you're going to listen, write down all your boarding questions, and we will have all the question and answer spaces right after the conversation happens. And then we're going to have a wrap-up space with Nkiru. So I would allow my Managing Director, Dr. Itoro, to speak right now. You're welcome, ma'am.
Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure being here today. I'm quite excited that this session is happening, and welcome to everyone for joining us to this our first session of the V.I.B.E Learning Lounge. We hope to have a very interactive session, and many thanks to our speaker today. So we hope to learn a lot. So thank you everyone, and you're very welcome. And I'm looking forward to a very interactive session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Hi, Benedict. Welcome to this space. Thank you so much for being a part of this space with us. And we will get started when you are.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to share with you some of the knowledge I've gathered over the years. I think we can start now, right?
Yes, please.
Okay, let me try and share my screen.
Okay.
And we get, so I think you need to enable participant screen sharing.
But you can share.
No, it's saying host disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay. You can share now.
All right, let me see. Great. So can you see my screen?
Yes, please.
All right. So the title for this presentation is Opportunities in the Gaming Industry. So this is key going into the future, because we see from my experience when I started this journey 10 years ago, many people didn't know what gaming is. It's still the case as some parts of, many parts of Nigeria actually, and many parts of Africa as well. So I think this is a very, very great presentation to have at this time, as well as things are shaping up in Nigeria and things are shaping up in Africa. And then we'll get to talk about what it is. So let me just go to the next slide. So generally, a lot of people have asked this question. If you go out today to seek for investment from a venture capitalist, or you think to talk to people who in the banking sector or any financial institution, they ask you, how big is this industry? What are the numbers behind this industry? So according to some of the news, some of the media agencies who have done research, right? Gaming is projected to surpass 200 billion mark by 2023. Already, 2022 figures are at 196.8 billion, which was up by 2.1% from last year. This is just short by 128.26 of the 200 billion mark, right? So we're growing. And then in terms of global figures for music and films for growth numbers for 2022. So it's 3.2 billion players globally, and is expected to go to 3.5 by 2023, right? The key growth drivers include mobile, which is very, very peculiar to the African market. So sorry, I need to minimize this. So mobile is expected to generate revenues of 103.5 billion this year, which is 53% of the market. PC, which is your personal computer, accounts for 21% of at 40.4 billion. And console, which is like your PlayStation, your Microsoft Xbox, stands at 27%, and with a growth value of 52.9 billion in terms of revenue. So the key growth regions for 2022 includes in North America, which is actually tipping down because of the popularity of gaming in America. So it's only showing a marginal growth of 0.5 this year, which is supposed to be 51.3 billion. Europe will decline marginally by -3%, right, to 34.1 billion. But Europe sees a strong mobile and modest growth for PC. Now, the biggest area is Middle East and Africa, which is the highest growth region at 10.8%, which is expected to generate about 7.1 billion and is basically driven by mobile, right? Latin America will see plus 6.9% growth to 8.7 billion. And these are figures that I got from news. So you can always check online to see these figures. So the general growth segments, as I've mentioned, right, which I just highlighted as this, you can see once you get the news report, you'll be able to see the growth markets by segment. You can always research and go through these reports, which is free. They have a free version online where you can always download. So Africa, generally, Africa by the numbers, we always have this is also one of the struggles of the African market as well. We're always trying to find figures. It's always easy to get figures for foreign markets, but Africa, because we're still in the niche stage, early stage, we always struggle to get figures. But so far, according to news reports, Africa generated $590 million in 2021, with mobile again as a strong growth driver. The leading markets so far include South Africa, which has the highest concentration of gamers with 24 million people, generating an annual revenue of $290 million. Nigeria follows next with 185 million. Ghana with $42 million. Kenya with $38 million. Ethiopia with $35 million. Right, and this is because we know Nigeria has a high population, right? And we still have to grow our numbers in general. So the value chain for the global for gaming is basically this drawing that we have. We have game developers, we have distributors and retailers, we have streaming services, we have hardware developers, we have gaming arenas, we have esports, which is what a lot of people are interested in these days, right? We have software developers and we have game publishers. I'll take us through one of these areas, all these areas in my next slides. Right, so in the gaming ecosystem, opportunities at skill studio level, right? These are, now all these roles, I'll explain what they are bit by bit. So for every studio to thrive, you need a mix of this set of people, whether you're it's different for a mobile game developer as opposed to a PC game developer, as opposed to a console developer. But generally, you have this sort of range of skills that are needed. So this is at the studio level. Now, a game designer generally designs the whole interaction of the game. From instead, if I say, I'll use an experience like Mario. Mario is very open there, and it's one of those early games that a lot of people would have come across. Now, a game designer will design something like the systems behind Mario, the play areas, the interaction areas, the point system. The point system are generally what does Mario hit to get coins? What does it stamp on to get coins? So game designers generally do all that, right? They think it's more of like a system-wide, thinking about the game from level to level. What is the fun part of the game and that sort of thing. Now, for concept artists, right? The best way to look at it is if we take Donkey Kong now, right? Donkey Kong is one of those early games that people should, I believe people would have. Please, if you haven't played Donkey Kong, please do not be upset. Donkey Kong now is the characters, different characters in Donkey Kong, the King Kong that is inside Donkey Kong, and every other playable character, right? It's a concept artist that will actually design these characters and put them out and see whether the studio accepts it. For the environment artist, if I take back Mario, the whole environment that Mario walks through, plays through, tries to navigate to save the princess, that is an environmental artist's work. For 3D sculptors now, I'll take it a little bit deeper, right? Again, if you look at Mario in a 3D world, right? A 3D sculptor is actually the one that creates Mario in 3D. Mario started as a 2D game and then they moved on over to 3D. But the certain features maybe change, some certain features don't change. Now, animator, CGI, VFX. For every game that comes out into the market, there's something called cutscenes. Cutscenes are the things that like marketing reels that you see. For instance, if you take Zelda, or you take Street Fighter, or you take Mortal Kombat, right? The cutscenes shows the character at play, the character at fight, the character at moving. So those cutscenes are actually part of embedded into the game, or they could be used as marketing content as well. Now, material artists, programmers, material artists are things within the game that are being used to either play or to engage the players. For instance, cars, bicycles, hacksaws, knife, and those sort of things. Buildings. These are the work of material artists. Programmers generally write the code that helps bring the game together in some certain areas of the game that needs coding, right? Now, story writing and storytellers, this is basically as you have, every good game that's going to get on the PC is going to get a console, and maybe sometime on the mobile will need a good story that will be written by a storyteller. This is like your normal, if you take a movie, for instance, a movie needs a story for it to be comprehensible to people to understand. Same thing with games. Sometimes many games these days that are big budgets, which are called AAA games, actually need stories. Some games don't need stories. Some games need stories. Now, with everything that has dominated the gaming and visual space, there's also sound, right? And sometimes sound could also be done by people who are actually artists, right? Music artists, but if they're not artists, they could be just general music people with good composing skills and engineering skills, right? These are sound designers for games as well. Now, quality assurance for everything that is IT related, especially with software development and with also games, you also need to test for bugs, for things that will create a flaw in when somebody is playing the game when it has been launched. So this is where quality assurance testers come in play. And we also need marketing, social media, and data analytics people to help us with getting our stories out there, testing the stories we have placed out there to see how people are reacting to what part of the game, what we need to change, getting feedback generally. So technical directors, which is the last area in terms of this skill studio level, technical directors are more of, in terms of softwares that are being used in creating a game, especially if it's a AAA game, right? There are people who would definitely say, for this game, you need to use Maya, which is a software package. You need to use Adobe. You need to use a mixture of all these tools for it to get there. So these are examples of these studio levels are, we have Ubisoft, you have Electronic Arts, you have Game Assembly, you have Activision Blizzard. Now this is the skill studio level, right? Now for investment opportunities, because again, every many studios also need investors, early stage investors, depending. Some people can do without it, but there's a host of investment opportunities out there. And so people who are actually attracted to gaming from the early stage investments are angel investors, venture capitalists, publishers, and private equity, right? And 2021 saw a great amount of investment into video games by VC firms. According to numbers again, 406 deals were done last year, in 2020, sorry, worth $13.2 billion, right? In 2020, to 765 deals worth $38.5 billion in 2021, right? IPOs that were done, IPOs are exits that are actually done through the New York Stock Exchange or different stock exchange or have actually been bought over. IPOs that were up by 20.6 billion raised in 10 IPOs in 2020 to 109.4 billion for the 5 public exits in 2021. Right, so early stage investments for gaming in Africa really started because we have different ecosystem challenges. The studio talents are not there. The business model still needs understanding by a couple of VC firms, right? But there is quite some interest for early stage investment in Africa. Some people are making forays into that area, but general examples of these people are Griffin Gaming Partners, Convoy Ventures, London Venture Partners, Bitcraft, and Galaxy Interactive. So for distributors, right, we have physical distributors and you have digital storefronts as well. Some of the physical distributors we know is GameStop. I put Mega Plaza because ever since I've known Mega Plaza, they've always been retailing games, right? So Mega Plaza, if you go to the second floor, actually it's the third floor where they have a couple of consoles and things. You actually see some games for sale there in physical copy, and then you have Best Buy. For digital storefronts, which is like your Google Play Store, your Apple Store, you have Steam, you have Unreal Marketplace, and a few more are coming on, right, these days. For streaming services, the 2 major examples that are there are YouTube and Twitch, right? Now, Twitch is one of the most popular live streaming platform in comparison to what YouTube is doing, right? In most times, in terms of numbers, they're actually bigger than YouTube, right? So Twitch saw a 26% year-on-year increase with nearly 20 billion live gaming hours watched. These are people who are just watching people play games, right, without playing games themselves, right? While YouTube was second largest with 4.7 billion live gaming hours watched. This is according to Newzoo Global Market report for esports for 2021. Now, hardware developers, these are different areas. You have in console hardware makers, you have GPU makers, and they have accessories. So some of the console developers are like your normal Xbox you have at home. You have your PS, your PlayStation at home. You have Sony PlayStation. You have Microsoft Xbox. You have Nintendo Wii, Nintendo Switch. Those are the console developers. For CPU and GPU makers, these are graphic chips, and sometimes some of these people do have their own PCs as well. But most of them deal with terms of partnership with other PC makers. So you have NVIDIA, you have Dell, you have Intel, you have HP, you have Asus. Now, accessories is an area where I think people can get into. You just have to have a bit of engineering power and engineering knowledge and a bit of understanding of how each component of system works. Maybe keyboard, maybe the gamepad that you have on the consoles and that sort of thing. So accessories is a $6.1 billion market in 2021, and is expected to grow to $14.4 billion market by 2030. And this is a cumulative annual growth rate of 9.9% between 2022 to 2030. And this figures was given by Allied Market Research. So some of the companies doing creating accessories globally is Razer, Corsair, Ryzen, and Astro Gaming, and Logitech, which is quite familiar with the African market as well. Gaming arenas. Now, one of the things that also piqued my curiosity as I was growing up, even as a child, is that in Lagos, and I'll pick certain areas, in Ikeja, right, the place where you now have Cubana, right, used to be, the Cubana bar used to be a big gaming center way back, whereby those were the very first areas I saw things like arcades, things like consoles, and that sort of thing. And then later, somewhere around Anthony Village, you had somewhere called Game Arena. Now, so those sort of areas where people get to sit around and play, and sometimes, you know, just spend time there. Those are known as LAN cafes, and sometimes you see computers there. In our case in Nigeria, is that they had arcades, they had TVs, and that sort of thing. Because, like I said, this was in the 80s, in the 90s actually, and internet was still very far from Nigeria at that time, right? So we had our own version of LAN cafes, just to give you an idea there. And then for stadiums, these are large venues with seating capacities from 200 people to a number of thousands. Now, stadiums are becoming an in thing, especially with the rise of esports, right? Across the world, some of the biggest esports stadiums that I have seen are the esports stadium in Arlington that sits over about 2,500 people. The Fusion Arena in US that sits 3,500 people. The Dundee Esports Arena in London that sits 4,000 people. And Three Gorges Harbour Esports Stadium, which is still being built in Shenzhen, is going to sit around 6,000 people. So these are in terms of venues and esports. And then another area that we see that is rising with esports is merchandise and ticketing, right? So it's projected for merchandise and ticketing is projected to hit $180.20 million in 2022, that's this year. The revenue is expected to show an annual growth rate of 11.83%, with a resulting market volume of 315.20 by 2027, with a projected market volume of $70.4 million in 2022. Most revenue in terms of merchandising and ticketing is generated in China. Again, this is also because there's a fandom in terms of esports in Asian country at the moment. Esports is being led by China, by Japan, because I think for me, if I'm just to crack a joke, I think those people are driven by impulses. They look for external impulses to make them happy, right? So in the merchandise and ticketing segment, the number of users is expected to amount to 20.7 million by 2027, and the user penetration will be 0.3% in 2022, and is expected to hit 0.3 by 2027. And these figures are given by Statista, and you can always check them online. As I said, esports is growing, and again, it's is generating nearly 1.38 billion in revenues by the end of 2022. China will generate nearly a third of worldwide esports revenue. Southeast Asia, Central Southern Asia, Latin America, and fastest growing regions, with 2020 to 2025 cumulative annual growth rate of plus 27.6%, 23.4%, and 19% respectively. Global esports revenue will exceed 1.86 billion by 2025, representing a healthy cumulative annual growth rate of 13.4%. Now, general esports titles dominate developed markets like North America, Europe, China, South America, and Japan. Mobile esports titles dominate emerging markets like Latin America, the Middle East, Africa, Southeast Asia, and India. And this is so because of the general infrastructure challenges we have in Nigeria and other parts of Africa. Some of the systems, some of the infrastructure needed to smoothly run an esports tournament and esports games are actually still not available. Some of the people who are doing this are actually either looking for partners or are looking for investors to help them grow their business model. A good example of this is Gamer. Gamer just recently secured some funding, and then they also secured another set of funding from Google, right? So global esports audience will reach 532 million by the end of 2022. Number of esports enthusiasts is set to reach 261.2 million, while occasional viewers will make up 270.9 million. The esports audience will reach 640.8 million by the end of 2025, with a cumulative annual growth rate of 8%. Another opportunity, as you see, as I mentioned, Gamer is tournaments. Gamer organizes tournaments in Nigeria through the mobile. And such tournaments like this that is known globally, these are games themselves, Counter-Strike and Dota 2. And then they also have leagues. Leagues are like, if I simply put what you have in football, a group of people playing together, but this time through mobile phone and PC, right? Global leagues in the world, you have Overwatch, you have Valorant, you have Leagues of Legends, and there's so many more. Now, teams which also participate in these leagues are some of the global teams you have is Fnatic, Team Liquid, OG, FaZe Clan. And in Nigeria, we have a couple of people. Dr. Seed, yes, the same Dr. Seed that used to sing with Don Jazzy and Co. has his own team right now called Contender, right? They are an esports team that are going up. And then some of the notable sponsors we have sponsoring esports teams and esports leagues are Red Bull. So there's an opportunity for sponsorship. If you're a big brand or if you're a brand trying to get your name out there. Now, cosplayers are people who like to pose as certain characters in a game, right? Cosplay is still trying to, hasn't started in Nigeria, hasn't started in Africa. It'll be great to see what people will do and how people will react to those sort of things. But in Asia, cosplay is a big market, right? And it's actually dominated by women so far that I've seen, right? And Japan's top cosplayer, Enako, earned 100 million yen in 2021, which is roughly $885 dollars. And this was just in 2021. Today, she's been invited to anchor programs, to speak on different shows, to her name has gone beyond just the cosplay. Software developers, these are people, organizations creating software to use by gaming studios or gaming teams around the world. An example of this is Discord, which is actually started to help teams around the world, wherever they are, to communicate, to share updates on their projects. So they can share images, they can have meetings on Discord. So Discord is there. And Omniverse, which is an NVIDIA software that just recently started. Omniverse is to help different collaborators, whether you're a music artist, whether you're an audio engineer, whether you're a graphic artist, come together to create a scene that will be ported into a game. So these are some of the software developers, and there are a couple of more out there. So with this, I've reached the end of my presentation. Anybody who has questions should please let me know. I'm here to answer questions. Thank you very much. I'll be stopping my screen now.
Thank you so much, Benedict. That was a lot of data and information, and I'm really grateful to you for it. So before we go into the question and answer session, I have a series of questions for you myself and how we're going to go about the question. Thank you to those joining us from YouTube as well. Would love that you type your questions in the chat box, and I'll read out your questions after the question and answer space that we're going to be having with him. So my first question is, what were you doing before you started Excel Academy?
Sorry, kind of like breaking. Are you asking what was I doing before I started Creative Pixel Academy?
Before Creative Pixel Academy happened, what was happening for you before then? Yes.
Sorry, I didn't get it clearly. What was I doing before I started Creative Pixel Academy? Correct?
Yes.
All right, great. So every person has a journey. Every person has a starting point. First thing was that I was in Nokia, right? I managed sales in Nokia, and I was able to. What struck me at that point in my time in Nokia, because we're the first set of people to come in terms of helping Nokia sell a platform called OVI, and I'm sure a couple of people are quite familiar. Now, OVI was supposed to be like a digital storefront that helps to do several things, right? And along the way, we're supposed to help introduce new applications, new products, and things like that Nokia will go and build. And I noticed that there were a lack of games, right? Notable games. And gaming was one of the features that was supposed to help drive, and entertainment was one of the features to help drive customer affinity to the brand. So one of some applications I did suggest to the major global Nokia team were games like Candy Crush, Temple Run. I started those sort of conversations for them. I actually did get one of the early game developers in Africa from Ghana, Letty Arts, to start a conversation with the Nokia Lagos team to help port their games into the mobile platform. So after helping Nokia, I saw that there was a need for this. And then I joined International Game Developers Association because I saw I was quite interested in what we were doing. And again, as still with many things in Africa, is that a lot of developments in tech, in ICT, or in whatever, are far from reaching Africa. At the time I joined the International Game Developers Association, there was no chapter in Africa, right? So how was Africa going to, even Nigeria, how was Africa or Nigeria going to get into this sort of global space without any representation? Is like having a wish and not being able to implement on it. So I joined the International Game Developers Association, and with the way things went, everybody was happy to have me from Nigeria and also from Africa. And one of the first few things they said, oh, why don't you start a chapter, right? Start a small chapter for us in Nigeria. And I was like, okay, what does that entail? Then I now started the journey. Not that I had any idea of what I was getting into, right? But I just started the journey and just hoped for the best. From there, I was called in to help setting up other chapters in Ghana, in Senegal, in Cameroon as well, right? The people I picked for these chapters, sometimes, they got moved to other countries as they moved to other countries. to help also establish themselves. But this was the area that actually ushered me to start Creative Pixel Academy. Because as I did implemented events, as I implemented hackathons, I saw the need for skills training, skills development, which is not being done at the university level. In terms of programming, as I speak today, right, one of the key programs you will definitely need to actually work in a game studio is actually Python, right? And C++, right? Python and C++. C++ is first before you get to Python. But if I give you a shocker that C++ is not even taught in many of my universities, right? Talk less of Python, you'll be amazed, right? Actually, when I started out there, I went to University of Lagos, tried to do my first hackathon there, and they weren't even teaching Python. They weren't even teaching C++. They were teaching things like Fortran. They were teaching programs that that are not helpful. And this is where this was the Department of Computer Science, right? That is supposed to help build this talent. So I said something needs to be done in this area, and that is really the case study, the case that actually led me to start Creative Pixel. The other thing I found out is where I tried to research the idea is that at the national level, Nigerian national level for the curriculum, is that there are no courses. And if you pick up the educational curriculum today, right, from the Ministry of Education website, there are no courses for game development. There are no courses for animation. There are no courses on VFX. There are no courses on CGI. Because our school system is still trying to catch up, and we have a lot of sectorial demands and challenges, and so those things are there. So it has to be, Creative Pixel has to be privately driven, right, to be able to help build the next generation of talent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So my next question is, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so what is Creative Pixel Academy about? So what exactly happens in that place? What do you get? What do you do? What does the academy exactly do? What's it about?
So Creative Pixel, of course, seeks to train people in empower them with tools, with knowledge in how to build games, how to create animation, story reels, and also give them the right tools to help build this sort of applications. Creating a game these days needs high computing power, right? Because you need a lot of rendering capacity, which is not generally available with many of the computers you see being sold in the market. It has to be high performance PCs as well. So what we do in Creative Pixel is to bring people together, whether in virtual format or in classroom format, right, and give them the necessary tools, the thinking boxes to help them think about how to build animations, how to build games. I'm not mentioning a lot of VFX right now. I'm not mentioning motion capture because you need a certain room and certain computing power and some certain performance in terms of you need to act some certain things which we don't really have the space right now, right? That will come in future. But we bring people together, they learn the best of tools, they learn the best of knowledge to help them create a game. So we generally work with major partners across the world where we have some sort of fit, right, in achieving some of the things we do. And since we've started, we've been able to get some good partners on board. For the likes, we are a partner to NVIDIA at the moment. We joined the Emerging Partners program last year. Just as soon as we started, NVIDIA saw that there was a great potential between what we're trying to do and what they are trying to achieve. So they gave us the opportunity to join the Emerging Chapters program. We also have joined Unreal Engine, which is a big player in the animation and gaming space. We've also joined a couple of other notable big players in the creative space. So generally, our idea is to bring people together to learn the best of tools that can help them get opportunities, whether they stay in Nigeria or whether they go abroad.
Okay, thank you so much. I'd also want to know, why exactly did you decide to go into the gaming industry? What drew you to the gaming industry?
Okay, so for instance, games have been something that I got interested in as a child, just like I said, through play, right? And as I was growing, I wanted to find out from my time in Nokia, I saw there was an opportunity for that to be there was a wide opportunity for engagement in Africa. So from entertainment perspective, right, I was interested in, I'm a kind of curious person that I like to bring things and make things work, right? And games was one of the area that's just stuck on me. And as I dug deep into the information I had, I saw that it goes beyond just entertainment, right? There is a lot of other applications we see today. Surgeons are being trained through gaming applications. Surgeons in the medical field, pilots are being trained through gaming applications. And most of their flight simulation training are actually done through games. There is a wide range of crisis management systems that could be designed through games as well. Indeed, I have come across a drilling simulation, an oil and gas drilling simulation that was built by, I think it was ExxonMobil, I'm not sure. I downloaded this like 7 years or 8 years ago. You go from managing drilling sites to vessels and that sort of thing. So there is a wide application locally for gaming. And again, just to help change, as I continued in this industry, I saw that it was also a major driver for Forex earners, right? If you want to earn foreign exchange, you have to hone your skill. It is something that, as I say, is something that I've come across in terms of innovation, is that they say the next best secret is what it is the next best secret. It's a secret until it becomes to a stage that it becomes popular, and then you see a lot of people rushing in. And that is the same thing that we have seen over time right now. Like I said, when I started, nobody was talking about gaming. Today, games are being spoken everywhere. You go to Google, Google is talking about games. You go to any of the foreign consulate, they're talking about how to get into gaming space, how to get into the animation space. So the demand is there. The interest keeps growing every day. And I think it's a worthwhile journey to pursue. And I welcome anybody to join in this journey.
That's nice. Understanding your passion for the gaming industry and the length of time you've started Creative Pixel Academy and what you've done with it, what would you say are the current challenges that you faced in Creative Pixel Academy, as well as the progress that you faced since you started out?
So, in terms of challenges, I would say the first thing that was one of my challenges was that when I first started this idea in the gaming industry and trying to sort out Creative Pixel Academy, if you didn't have the right people to help you navigate a path, right, to help you achieve what you want to achieve, you tend to run into major blocks, right? And sometimes if you are not calm and you're not researching and also see what is happening, right? You could lose focus. One of my struggles was that when I started, again, not many people knew about games. So anytime I spoke about games, they were like, oh, show us the money. Oh, is it something we can quickly do that we're looking for money? Like, yeah, games are not the sort of thing that we should be investing in. One of my early meetings I had with the venture capitalist was like, oh, we don't understand games. So how can we be investing in them? Help us to understand what gaming is, how we can invest and make our money with them. And everybody needed somebody to show them a path. And at that time, right, I didn't have so much information because I needed to understand the information myself. I had some parts of information, I didn't have everything. So as I continued, bits and pieces of the missing information came to power, came to being, right? And which is one of the things that led me into venture capital as well, to understand how people are investing in games. What are they the same benchmarks people are using to invest in other startups and other applications and that sort of thing. So those are some of the challenges that I faced. So you need to have the right set of people. How I overcame those early challenges was like, I looked at and this is not me being just, this is not me being not accrediting people I came across. I just got to a point to say, look, the people who got you into in this industry, who built your interest in this industry, are actually not here, right? So the best thing for you to do as a person is to talk to the people who ushered you, who gave you the ideas about this thing, and they weren't here. So I went back to the IGDA. I built a couple of connections between some of the members there. I started talking about the idea of Creative Pixel Academy, what I wanted to do. And then the information just started opening from there. They started showing me things I needed to do, people who I needed to talk to. They started introducing me to people like that. So I thank those people I came across in the IGDA, and a lot of them on my advisory board at Creative Pixel Academy. Again, this is not to go against Nigerians, or this is not to say Nigerians don't have information. It's just who is the best person I could talk to that can show me a path, right? Whatever those foreign people said may not be totally applicable, but it takes a lot of pressure off the shoulders, right? To know that at least there's something you can test. There's a couple of people you can talk to, and they can give you some ideas on what to do. And those were the people who actually helped me a lot, right? To get through the day, right? Thanks.
Thank you. To understanding the level that you've gotten to in the gaming industry and the kind of information you had to consume before you're able to get to where you are currently, what would you advise for people that are about to go into the same industry, or people that are just thinking about it? They are not really clear. They are not really clear about how they want to go into it, or whether it's something they want to do. It's just an idea. People that are already into it, but it's seeming like there are lots of blocks to it. What advice would you give to an aspiring individual that is venturing into the gaming industry? If you see one today, what would you tell the person to do or not to do, or how to go about it?
So one of the things I'll say is start on your journey, right? But don't start your journey in a closed loop system. Don't believe that you get all the answers you get from day one. Most of the studios I know who are still surviving today, the local studios who actually started, have actually built some sort of relationship with somebody in the global space, either in North America, either in Europe, either in Asia, right? Either they do that or they look for organizations like the IGDA to work with. A good thing is that the IGDA does have a mentorship program for people who want to get into this industry. And so when you get there, they give you some of the resources you need in terms of people you need to talk to. And when you have those sort of systems in place, right? You can also talk to a couple of independent studios that have started in Africa, for instance, the likes of Malio, who have been there for a while, who are solely focused on mobile gaming. If you need a more in-depth system of information, you could talk to people in South Africa as well. South Africa has a wide array of studios, right? And everybody is there to help another person. The good thing about the gaming industry is that it's a friendly place to be in. Whether you talk to somebody in Canada, you talk to somebody in Europe, you talk to somebody in Asia, they're ready to help. A lot of people are ready to help, right? So not being in that thinking that you could achieve everything you do, right? From day one, it's different. I think this is the major thing that separates us from many of the tech industries, the tech people who build applications to sell. You need to really get out there, and because these resources that I've mentioned, they are the ones that will help tell you either your code is wrong, either what you're thinking about is not in the right place. So you need to do X, Y, Z for you to be able to achieve this and this. So really just going out there and talking to people. Don't get discouraged, right? Gaming development, whether it's mobile, whether it's PC, especially PC or console is a hard thing to do, right? But the long-term benefits of it, of people who have actually succeeded, right? When you hear them talk about their success and what they did to achieve it, right? They say it's such a satisfying place to be, right? Because it's not the general work system. It's not your 9 to 5. Sometimes it's more than that. Sometimes it's less than that. But you get to dictate the pace of how you work. So that's it generally.
Okay, are there basic skills that you'd recommend that a person should have before getting into this industry? Are they basic skills that one should possess, basic tools that one should have before having to start interacting with other people in the industry to go into it?
So if you talk about basic skills, it comes down to those sort of areas those skill-based areas I mentioned in the early slides. If you want to become a character artist or visual artist or something in that area, you want to solely focus on art, you need to have a basic passion for drawing, right? Right? Just have a basic passion of drawing. Draw the best, draw different characters. There's something called the artist book these days, and an artist book is not necessary. You don't have to have colors. You can take a pen, right? Just draw a character. Just draw a character in motion. Just draw a small animated reel and see what you can do. Just keep drawing, right? As the better you become, you find out, and if there's a studio looking for somebody to develop a character for him, that you could get in there and try and help out. Same goes for environmental artists. Draw. Look at different environments, take pictures, look at different environments around the world. Tourist sites, tourist destinations, work environments, have a passion for using your eyes and using your imagination for everything in terms of visual. If you want to get into programming, start with the basics. Start with C. If you have a hard time learning C++, start with Object-C. Build your knowledge up to Python, right? If you want to become a technical director, right, for a studio, have a great knowledge of different applications, Maya, Blender, Substance Painter, right? Have an idea of what those applications do. Sometimes those technical directors also have a great number of coding skills behind them. If you want to be a storyteller today for a game, start writing stories. Start looking at how other storytellers are telling stories for games. What expressions are being done. If you want to become a narrative designer, a narrative writer for a game, right? Start by writing narration. Look at how to better your skill, right? Or look at the conversations already in games. There are a lot of games with conversations. Uncharted is there. there are other games, right? Look at how the conversations are being done. See what you can do to implement your script. For story writing, you have Twine. Twine is there. It's a great story writing tool. So you have different applications based on what you want to really do out there, right? So it's you tasking yourself and try to get the best information that will help you, that will actually help you to succeed.
Thank you so much. Before we go to my last question, I would love that if you do have questions, you could already write them now in the chat box so that we're able to have more interaction with Mr. Benedict after my last question. Also, after the space with him, we're going to have a breakout space where we're going to be in smaller groups so that we're able to network, get to know ourselves, get to know our industries, get to ask ourselves questions about the challenges that we're facing in our various industries, and see how within our small spaces, we're able to profile solutions to these challenges. We're able to go back to our various places of work or our various lives and be able to apply these solutions that we're going to profile from this space. So if you do have questions, now is the right time for you to already type them in the chat box. So my last question for you is, what is your vision for developing the creative ecosystem?
Right. My vision for developing the creative ecosystem is to actually have an ecosystem whereby we have major productions, whether in games, in animation, or even in films, happening in Nigeria. For instance, if you take a look at many of the Hollywood productions, not everything is being shot in North America. Most of them are actually going to places like Canada or in other places in Europe. We want to have, my vision is to have some fraction of that being done in Africa. I think till date, the only movie that I know that actually has been able to do a couple of shoots, and I may be wrong, in Africa is Star Wars. And I'll mention the particular scene in Star Wars, the city called Tatooine, right? In Star Wars, that was actually in Tunisia, right? Tatooine was actually built in Tunisia, and that sort of thing. I don't know of any recent production that happened in Africa, right? Major, not Nollywood kind of thing. Also helping Nollywood to grow to a more commanding place, right, in the movie area. Also with games as well, getting major publishers to take an interest in the gaming space in Nigeria and also in Africa. We used to have a couple of people, but they come and they go. An example is Ubisoft, who actually invested some money in Morocco at some point, but later closed down. To my best of knowledge, Ubisoft, I think one of the games that happened with the Ubisoft Morocco station was Prince of Persia, right? And I don't think they had any full-on project after that. Of recent, Tencent, major Tencent had an office in Africa. I was speaking to the Tencent person of recent, and he said Tencent Africa has closed down. So what does this mean is that they are coming and they are not seeing value on the market. So it's to have most of these people come, establish a strong market, establish a strong partnership for them in Nigeria, in Africa, and also get a couple of productions going that become notable in the international market, right? And that helps attract forex to our economy. That helps retain the talents so that we don't lose talents in the long run. That helps provide opportunities and youth employment. And also want to also try and see how best we can kick up the next generation of studios creating this content. So generally, that's the vision, right?
Okay, so Sammy had, thank you so much, Mr. Bennett. Sammy has a question. He says, development of a game, how are the ways to go about it? How and what are the ways to go about it? The question is in the chat.
So I'm trying to read. Yeah, you were breaking, so I'm trying to read it.
In the chat box.
So are open for a collaborative partner for the development of the game. How and what are the ways to go about it? Are you generally asking me if you want to be a part of a game development team? And so if that's the question, there are different ways to go about being a partner for development of the game. First is what skills you bring to the table. Are you bringing development skills, as I've mentioned, in those areas, or are you bringing marketing skills? Also, that would depend on the stage the studio or the team, the development team is. If they are in a development stage for creating the game, whether it's mobile, whether it's PC, whether it's console, a marketing person might not be needed until they get to about 60 to 75% of the game before they now start thinking about the kind of marketing reels they want to have. So also, it's very key to know what kind of skills you're bringing to a team. That will also go a long way in helping them to see where you fit. And once you do that, also look for, if you don't have a particular fit, look at what other things you can help them in. Maybe just your contributing of ideas or your research into other games in that particular area of what they're trying to build, the kind of stories they're trying to build and help out, right? So, but the first thing I'll say is to understand what skills you're bringing to them to help them, and then see. How you go about it is look at the kind of studios that are available. If so far in Nigeria and in Africa, we have a lot of mobile game development studios building hyper casual games. Hyper casual may not be too expressive as you have in terms of content, as you have in AAA games or games on PCs or games on console. Hyper casual are more mobile oriented. So you can also join some of those studios. You can also help in play testing, right? If you want to do that to earn some commission, you could also work with, I know a couple of studios globally who are looking for play testers. A good resource, and I'll tell people this, a good resource for play testers is so strange, is LinkedIn, right? They always offer, LinkedIn is there. And if you have Discord, right? Discord is also one of those places you may see play testing. For instance, there is a particular studio that is trying to build a game development platform for mobile. They are called SOBA, S-O-B-A. They are looking for play testers, people who will help play test their games. You can also get into SOBA and see. These are areas that you could get into, and it just depends on what you bring to the table.
Thank you so much, Mr. Benedict. Fine, thank you so much for your kind words. Kira has a question. She says, since not everyone will be able to create the next hit game, what advice can you give gaming professionals about how to deploy their skills in other industries? Example, gamification of education, applications for government, public sector, simulation for industries, etc. What advice would you give gaming professionals to be able to move their skills into other industries?
So like I mentioned, gaming is beyond just creating entertainment titles as well. If we take a bit of, and this is like a mix and match, right? I'm going to say, if you look at medical, for instance, and how medical professionals are being brought to their profession. In Nigeria, do we have applications that are being that are helping surgeons to understand how to operate without going into the operation room? That is still an open field there. If you look at many of the past plane crashes that we had in the aviation sector, pilots have their simulation testing room, but how advanced to deploy those training simulation docks go in millions, go in millions to deploy, right? To deploy in any training center, and sometimes you may not need to. It's part of the preparation for testing pilots, right? That they should have some sort of man hours inside the dock, right? But if they don't have those sort of tools, right, what other applications can games help, right? Like I said, there is flight simulation training. Today we have NEMA has a lot of crises they attend to, whether it's in terms of flood, whether it's in terms of density, too much density in a particular area, whatever the human emergency crisis is. Those sort of things could be built into a game to see how NEMA can quickly deploy their solutions to help fight this. Another one is the Federal Fire Service, right? We know the challenges around Federal Fire Service not having, sometimes they don't have water, sometimes they don't have this and that, sometimes they don't have the vehicles. We pray these things like this don't happen, but you see the wildfires that is happening across Europe, across North America. If such things happen in Nigeria, for instance, what is the simulation training for those sort of system-wide interventions? Does the Federal Fire Service have that? So these are some things that people with the knowledge of building games and building simulations can help build. If you take a look at from some of the things I have seen today from a couple of our partners, is that there is this thing being talked about, saying digital twins, right? Digital twins are supposed to be, if I give you a rough sketch, we have the world today, right? The world as it is, the whole globe, right? Digital twins are supposed to help, according to the NVIDIA program that we're part of. Digital twins are supposed to help simulate what sort of challenges can happen in the world under different scenarios, under health crisis, under weather crisis, under hunger crisis, under that sort of thing, right? So digital twin solution is supposed to be a digital representation of what the Earth is, but with different challenges affecting each other of the twin outside of the original. So these are some of the simulations that people with gaming skills and also with programming skills can help build as well.
Thank you very much, Benedict. The last question is in the chat box from Linda. It says, "Hi, Benedict, well done. I would like to know how you think the gaming industry can help close the gaps we have in the delivery of primary and secondary education in Nigeria and on the continent in general. Any examples, if any?"
All right. So the very first thing is for people in primary and secondary school education is from some of the things we've tried to do at Creative Pixel Academy is to get them interested in games, right? And how do we do this? These are ages where people they have a lot of energy. They're quite excited about learning things. They need somebody to help them channel their those sort of energy into something creative, right? So the very first set of things to get them interested in is building digital environments, right? And I say digital environments in terms of you want them to build a stickman character. I say stickman because that's one of the very simple things to do. Just take 4 or 5 lines, build it, help them animate it, teach them how to get animated, how to animate it with some of the very, very basic tools. There are several of them. There is Dreamweaver there that can help with all those things. Help them to understand things like how mathematics work in terms of physics, in terms of those who are not necessarily inclined in mathematics, they still have a chance, Not everybody who's inclined in mathematics at that level. You also get them interested in other areas in terms of how to behave generally in the world today. For instance, there are several programs. If you take Fortnite, for instance, Fortnite is a big gaming application that was built by Epic Games, but Fortnite is being used to teach children in primary and secondary schools how to create their own environment, how to get your environment to move, how to interact within the Fortnite system in a civil manner, right? There's a lot of information on Fortnite on how to behave like in a civil manner, because sometimes when games are being built, some people lose the value behind the game in terms of teaching what is important and what is necessary in creating the next generation of people. So Epic Games and a couple of other people have said, okay, why we cannot allow students to learn Fortnite as it is, let's scale Fortnite down to more friendly application that people in secondary schools and primary schools can play, right? And sometimes there's also an age range on these things, right? I know for Fortnite, it starts from about 10, right? So if your child is not 10 yet, if from 10 plus above, if your child is not 10, then you cannot generally participate because there's a lot of information. And if it doesn't have, in the sense of Nigeria, I would say even at that 10 plus age, you still need some guidance, because we know how a couple of people can misconstrue things, especially if children are not being explained. If they don't get somebody to explain things to them, they can take information and misapply it. So there are these sort of applications that are there. There are other applications as well. Fortnite is just one of them, and is there. But one of the other challenges that you see is that for primary and secondary school education is that, as I mentioned, is that one of the challenges we've seen in Crazy Pixel is that we also try to run a program this year called Code Sprouts, and we try to work with a couple of about 3 to 4 secondary schools, and we found out that I actually went to pitch to these schools, to pitch to their proprietors, and I found out that these schools didn't have the equipment, they didn't have necessary equipment to even run the application we wanted to run. And you just needed, at that point, you needed a system with about, if we take just the graphic cards, you needed a system with maybe iCore 5, right? An Intel system with iCore 5 or iCore 7. If you get iCore 7, it's great. But iCore 5 should be able to manage it. And many of them didn't have it, right? They didn't have that. The school that had something close, right? They had an iCore 5. I tested that application on my own system, which is also an iCore 5, and I found out that it dragged, right? So what did that mean? It needed a higher version for it to run smoothly, right? And I commended them, though, for having a system with iCore 5. But one of the things I also saw in this school is that their classroom was small, right? When I said small, is maybe possibly sit maybe like something like 7 at worst case scenario. And I wanted to do the program to take more students. It was actually a small primary school. The other one I went to was a primary and secondary school. They were using a PC that needed the cloud. So it was a very, very tiny bit PC. And they just didn't have the great graphic cards. We have infrastructural challenges in terms of and it's no one's fault. It's really about the economy. It's about the forex exchange rates and this sort of things, right? Which is something we're trying to find a way how to get through with establishing partnerships with a couple of these PC makers and that sort of thing.
Thank you so much, Benedict, for your insight. Sammy has a question. Apart from gaming, do you deal with the area of augmented reality also?
I would say for augmented reality, no, we don't do augmented reality now because, again, that we also need a different set of body of knowledge, different set of hardware. Augmented reality doesn't generally work, not necessarily work. It's not something I feel we should get into when we haven't established the core basic areas in terms of having the right hardware for our students, having the right learning content, right, available. There's a lot of augmented reality out there today, but we feel that for us, we will take it bit by bit, right? At some point, you may offer augmented reality. It all depends what the future holds.
Okay, I'm hoping that that's all our questions. And before we go into our breakout spaces, one thing I want to remind us is the fact that this is our first V.I.B.E Learning Lounge. So that means we're going to be having this moving forward regularly. We are having it every last Friday of the month by the same time, the same Zoom link. So we're looking forward to having you and more people. It's basically for already established as well as aspiring creative entrepreneurs, where you have spaces with professional speakers on anything that has to do with creativity. So we're hoping to get more people to be able to interact more, network more, learn and grow. So I'm going to put us in breakout spaces, and like earlier stated, we're going to have conversations with ourselves on our various industries, what exactly we're doing, what are our challenges, what are the solutions that we can proffer to ourselves to ensure that when we leave this space, it's very productive for us. We're able to go back to our various places of work, our various things that we do, and see how we're able to profile these solutions or implement these solutions that are already being profiled to better our lives and better the experiences of people that consume our services or our goods. So the breakout spaces would go out now. It's going to be automatically. Okay. So it's assigned already. Please join your breakout rooms. You could join the breakout rooms, by the way. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. So we had two breakout rooms. So love that two people, one from each breakout room, will share with us in 2 minutes what the conversations that happen in these breakout rooms and the lessons we can learn from it. So anybody could share from either of the breakout rooms.
Okay, I will try to provide input from the room where I was. Very interesting conversations we had, and I think we touched on the different aspects of Ben's experience, the creative industry, the tech industry, and of course the finance industry from a venture capital point of view. And some of us wanted to know how we can bring the creative side more mainstream to enable more practitioners to develop more talent and also to make it more integrated. Some of the conversations also went around having things like gaming playing a role in things like education. How can you use that to make education simpler and the rest of that? In addition to that, we also touched on how some ecosystems have evolved, and he talked about the CC Hub, how they quietly built an ecosystem outside of V.I.B.E, and how they grew from a one-floor or half-floor organization to multiple floor, multiple country organization. The simple steps that enabled that to happen. And we kind of talked about how to enable or grow those opportunities. Thank you. I think any of my team members can add if I've missed out any critical area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does any other person want to share from that breakout room? Okay, so go straight to the other breakout room that happened. Does anyone want to share from there? Your learnings, the conversations that happened? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. To be honest, we were just chit-chatting, getting to know ourselves, finding out what people are up to. So I'm not sure we can report on anything we were talking about. We were just connecting.
That's no problem. Thank you so much. So like I said earlier, this is going to be a monthly space, and we're going to have similar conversations and even more insightful and more interactive spaces in the next months coming. So we're hoping that we have a much larger audience and we have more impact, more information, more networking, and more knowledge. I would wrap up this space with inviting Nkiru to tell us any other thing that she has for us and to formally wrap up the space. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Chinedu, and thanks so much for being such an awesome moderator. Hi, everybody. My name is Nkiru Asika, and I'm a creative, long-time creative in Nigeria with a background in TV, events, journalism, and social enterprise, and all sorts. So V.I.B.E is a name that you'll be hearing a lot about next year, but this Learning Lounge series, just as Chilo has been saying, is really just an opportunity to bring both aspiring and seasoned creatives together to learn from each other, to find out about different industries. One of the fantastic things about the creative space is that there's so much overlap. You know, nothing is really linear. Everything is multidisciplinary in some sense. So whether you're, if you're a gamer, there is connection to, you know, the music industry. If you're in music, there's connection to film. If you're in film, there's connection to fashion, etc. So no matter where you are, there's you can learn from people in different spaces. So I just want to first of all, thank Benedict for fantastic presentation, really eye-opening presentation, and also just commend you because it's not easy to be a pioneer anywhere. It's not easy to be sort of visionary and to be operating in a space that people don't understand, and the people who you need to understand, like the financiers and the legal people, the like infrastructure people, tend to be very close-minded and conservative and risk averse when it comes to anything in the creative sector. I think they are finally warming up to the film, music, etc. But I can only imagine some of the conversations you might have had with people when you are going to talk about games. I can only imagine some of the blank stares you might have gotten. So I really commend you for
thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, for what you've done. So that's it really. We are going to convene again next month. Hope to see you all, share with your friends. Sammy, are you clapping or are you raising your hand to say something? I'm not sure of what your icon means.
Yeah, I'm just clapping for Benedict because the
okay. Okay, all right, good. I wasn't sure if you were trying to ask a question. Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic presentation, and really really data rich, and we'd really be interested in knowing, sort of keeping tabs and seeing how we can all benefit from and also support creative Pixel Academy. Yeah, so that's it really, everybody. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Have a fantastic weekend. Thanks so much to TechQuest Dev Academy for hosting. Thanks so much to Edu for moderating. You were awesome. And see you all at the next V.I.B.E Learning Lounge by God's grace.
Please, thank you so much, Ankiri.
Thank you.
Before you leave, let's put on our video so we could take a screenshot.
That's just not a possibility for me. That's not gonna happen. Sorry.
Thank you.
How can you just surprise us like that?
Yeah, that's like no.
No warning.
No, it's just not. It can't even happen. I'm literally looking apocalyptic. So
I'm the maxed one today, so just take my name. It will suffice.
Exactly. We can do group shots another time. So far as we have shots of Benedict, then that's fine. Then that's fine. Benedict, I have to ask: are you Beatrice's brother?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I was gonna say, first of all, I obviously the name, and then I see the resemblance. Yeah. And then, didn't you used to come to Enterprise Creative?
Yes, I did. I came on again on my journey. On my journey, I came on for a session. Linda was at the anchor, and she was teaching non-profit management and fundraising. So
grant writing, yeah.
Exactly. So those were the early days that I was trying to figure things out.
Right.
And I kept going home with my head spinning. Right. With so much information, I had to chew down and digest as well. So it's been a long journey here.
Fantastic, though. You've done, so well, and so much more to go. I'm sure you'll get there. Yeah, awesome.
Thank you. All right then.